Disclaimer.
Do not try to come up with satirical summaries of important events in history. That's what I did, and I quickly learned that it was a bad idea. You have to be very familiar with this stuff to know exactly what to say without blurring the facts too greatly. That being said, I had an assignment due for school and only 3 days to complete it, so I did exactly what I shouldn't have done. I came up with satirical summaries of important events in modern history without being very familiar with the stuff. Now, enough said. Let's begin.
The Congress of Vienna.
The Congress of Vienna took place shortly after the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. The premise? I think it would be better if France and the rest of Europe remained the way they were before the French Revolution and all that jazz. So we'll just revert back to that and strip away everyone's freedoms. That way we can effectively prevent more revolutions from breaking out.
The Age of Revolution.
Didn't work so well. Have you guys considered democracy?
The Rise of Marxism.
I've got a better idea. Let's form a classless society where all economic property and all economic resources are owned by the state. Even though we're a classless society, which means no one socially outranks anyone else, which means that no one is in charge. Makes perfect sense, right?
Random but relevant Ronald Reagan quote.
How do you tell a communist? It's someone who reads Marx and Lenin. And how do you tell an anti-communist? It's someone who understands Marx and Lenin.
Nationalism and unification movements.
For the love of the country, conducting revolutions to fix our current countries isn't working. So maybe we should conduct revolutions to create whole new countries.
Mass politics.
Some of the nations come to their senses and actually start fixing their people's problems.
The Age of Imperialism.
Apparently, it's very difficult for Europe to tell the difference between helping and controlling.
World War I.
Europe throws a gigantic temper tantrum over, well, nothing. And it takes the entire world to get everything under control.
The Russian Revolution.
Russia calls for a timeout in the middle of World War I and establishes a communist regime, which later becomes the USSR.
The Roaring Twenties.
Hey, let's throw a party for like a decade. It definitely won't hurt our economy.
The Great Depression.
Nope, it definitely hurt our economy.
Random but relevant Ronald Reagan quote.
Recession is when your neighbor loses his job. Depression is when you lose yours. And recovery is when Jimmy Carter loses his.
An update on Russia.
You remember that communist regime in Russia, right? Well, it definitely didn't become totalitarian.
Fascism in Europe.
Hey, that guy on the propaganda poster looks kind of cool. I think I'll follow him.
World War II.
Hitler throws a gigantic temper tantrum over the arrangements in the Treaty of Versailles, which, to paraphrase Winston Churchill, results in some slight modifications to the map of Europe.
The Cold War.
So apparently peacetime is boring, and we've had too many wars, so I guess we'll settle with something a little bit in between.
1981 through 1989.
I hope you're all Republicans.
1990 onward.
Ronald Reagan isn't president anymore, so history's kind of boring after that.
Present day.
Just wanted to end on a note of encouragement. I know you all aren't too happy about those finals coming up, but as Ronald Reagan once mentioned, as long as there are final exams, there will be prayer in schools. Let's keep prayer in schools.
End.